friends. Welcome back to our Golden 20s podcast. My name is Sadie, and I'm joined by my co-host Tegan, as
Hey.
always. And we're back with another episode. This week, we will be recapping our 2023 favorites. Probably one of my favorite episodes to do every year. I think it's a fun way to wrap up the year, reflect on a year, and just also share some favorites in case you're looking for even like gift ideas, something you want to try. I don't know. I feel like it's always fun to round this up. So we have a few different categories we're going to walk through, ranging all the way from like fashion and beauty to TV shows, music, and then also at the end, just some random memories and pop culture moments where it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that happened this year. Just kind of want to have fun and just be chatty in this episode.
Yeah, I feel like this will be perfect just to have a chill episode because we've had some, obviously the last one was a little bit more serious, and this will just be like chatty recommendations, kind of like favorites, but just, yeah, talking about life.
Yeah, I love it. Alrighty, well, let's jump right into it. We will start with our fashion and beauty category. So this is clothes, makeup, skincare, anything like that. And Tag, maybe I'll hand it over to you now that you're situated with Maud. Maud has showed up for the podcast if you're watching on video. But yeah, I'll hand it over to you, Tag.
Yeah, I didn't have too many things in this category because I feel like in my life there was a major shift between like before pandemic till after pandemic. So a lot of the things that I loved this year I mentioned in last year's episode just because I feel like I've figured out like what my life looks like now and that kind of thing. But I did want
That's
to
good.
mention, yeah, it is positive because it's
Yeah.
like less consumerism, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And, less me spending money on things, which is also positive. But one thing that I did want to shout out is A Goldie jeans, which I feel like they've been hyped for a really long time and they're super expensive, but my Winners carries them
Mm-hmm.
for pretty affordable prices. And I've always heard that they're like the comfiest jeans. Like Taylor Swift wears them because they're the comfiest jeans. And I was always like, give me a break. The $300 jeans are the comfiest jeans. Sounds real, not like you just want to flex your money. And then I got them and I was like, oh no, these are the comfiest jeans. So now I'm one of those people, but I can only afford them if they come to my Winners.
Yeah.
So I'm in a precarious situation. So I have a pair of like mom jeans and a pair of jean shorts from them. And they're just comfy, cozy. They feel like sweatpants. They're just really
Okay.
nice.
Really? I'm like,
Yes.
hey.
See? You're a non-believer like
Yeah,
I
I'm a
was.
non-believer. I'm like, they feel like sweatpants. That might be where I'm like, seriously?
Yeah.
But interesting.
Yeah. And I've tried jeans from like Levi's,
Yeah.
Zara, Abercrombie, and they're always like, I don't know. Denim jeans nowadays are pretty stretchy, I feel like, so they're all
Yeah.
somewhat comfortable, but yeah, they're my favorite. I wore my shorts like every single day in the summer, so
That's
I
how you
love them.
know. Yeah.
Yep. Another thing that I wear constantly is the Aritzia contour bodysuits. I think I mentioned this last year, but I was like, just gotta shout them out again. I am the type of person who is very indecisive when it comes to outfits. And so I tend to keep it sort of like the same. And I'll be like, I'm wearing a funky pair of jeans, a bodysuit, and maybe like a cool top on top of that. And so I have, I think, 3 or 4 of their bodysuits in different like styles and colors. And I just love them. They're super comfy again. I feel like a lot of them you can style for office, you could style for going out, you could style for being like cozy casual at home. So they're very
Mm-hmm.
versatile. And some of them I bought on sale. And so they're not as expensive as when you're buying full price, which I also appreciate. That was when I bought my first bodysuit, was when I got it on sale. And then I was like, oh, they've hooked me. Now I love them. So I needed to give them a shout out. There's also my Dyson Airwrap. I don't know if anyone's been like waiting to hear if I still love it, but I do. I use it nonstop. It's getting to the point where I'm like starting to destroy it. I've talked about how
Mm,
I use some of the things in my life as tools because I'm like, that's what they're there for. And so I'm
yeah.
certainly not precious with it. I travel with it. I now put it in my checked bag. It took me like a year of having it in my carry on before I was like, okay, it can go in the check bag now. And yeah, it's still working great. She's just looking not as pretty as when I got her, but I love it. Like every time I go out, people ask about my hair. Every time I post a TikTok, people ask about my hair. And it's so easy. My hair feels healthy compared to when I was using the like Revlon brush. So, still super happy with that. And the last thing I had was the Summer Fridays lip butters. I have those in two colors. And I feel like lipstick has been kind of out for a while. And so I just love these. I find a lot of gloss products are like too sticky or they're like
Yeah.
plumping, and that really bugs me. These are something like it feels like a lip balm.
Hmm.
So love it. Those were all my fashion and beauty faves.
I love it. You're like, there's not much, but these things are worth the splurge if you
Yeah,
were wondering. Yeah. That's
exactly.
awesome. Yeah. And curious, but do you find now that you have figured out, because I feel like too, if we go back and listen to like 2021 of the podcast, I feel like you
Yeah.
were on a hair journey and now you're like mastered it with my Dyson Airwrap. You have your
Yeah.
hair products. And then I feel like last year, 2022, you're like, I really want to focus on like my routines and like figuring
Mm.
that stuff out. And then I feel like you coming into this episode, you're like, honestly, guys, it's a lot of the things from last year because I figured it out. So I
Yeah.
love that because I feel like that's what it's all about is figuring it out and just like getting to know yourself, what you like and whatever. But
Yeah.
what I was going to ask you around the hair piece was, do you find now that you've figured it out how to use it, do you find it's boosted your confidence at all? Or even people just being
Yes.
like, "Oh my god, your hair looks amazing all the time." Like, did
Yeah.
you find anything like that?
I think so. And it's more like I can't leave the house without a blowout, which is a
Yeah.
very strange, like that's not really the person that I was.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love about it is if you're someone like me who has a lot of hair, it's like even if you are in the nicest outfit with makeup done, if your hair's not done, you
Mhm.
still look messy. And so
Mhm.
by having this product, it makes it so that if something's coming up, I could step at the door. I cannot be wearing makeup and I'm looking okay because I have a fresh blowout, you know? And so
Yeah.
that's what I really appreciate. And the time saving of it, I do like the routine of it. It is
Yeah.
like there are sometimes, if I have a late workout and I have to shower afterwards, I'm like, I'm not blowing out my hair because it's 11 o'clock at night. That's just life. So it's
Yeah.
not like I actually have to do it, but it's just a nice thing to be like twice a week. I'm going to chill. I watch YouTube videos or I watch a TV show and I just like blow out my hair. And then I'm like, I know I'm good for the rest of the week. If we have to record
Mhm.
this podcast, I know I'm good. If I need to film a TikTok, I know I'm good. If someone wants to go grab a drink or dinner, it's not like, okay, well, now I need to figure out time to straighten my hair or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's
I
been
love it.
really
Yeah.
nice. It's like taken a lot of the thought out of it. It honestly, this seems dramatic. It's like if you're listening, like, girl, it's a hair dryer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's really simplified my life, which is
Yeah.
what I
A big
appreciate. It's
win.
been like a
Yeah,
whole
totally.
lifestyle upgrade.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not a hair dryer, which is why
Yeah.
I'm talking about it like this. Obviously, if you have a hair routine, it's not going to be life changing for you.
Yeah.
But I would buy it over and over and over again. Like if mine dies, I'd be like, okay, I'll buy another one tomorrow.
Yeah. I love that. And I love how you've turned your hair moment into your like self-care moment for yourself like a few times a
Yeah.
week. That's so great. Awesome. Well, we know that this is a category where I always have a lot to say. I feel like I really scaled back at Sephora this year, which I'm proud of,
Hmm.
but I always have lots of makeups and specifically skincare stuff. So I'll try to breeze through it, but I'll maybe start with something that my sisters gifted me for Christmas last year, and it arrived in January. And every time I get to use it, I'm so excited, and that is my Bays work tote. So I have just actually, maybe this one only comes in one size. I thought maybe it came in two. But in any case, it fits my work laptop, which is like, I think 15 inches, and it has like so many different zips and pockets. And every time, like, I don't go to the office that much, but when I do and I get to use my work tote, I always feel like such a classy lady who has her life together. I remember riding the bus to work one day, and the bus going to my office has like 2 or 3 schools along its route, so it's always filled with kids in the morning, like high school students. And I remember just thinking, like, I'm sitting here, I have my coffee in my to-go cup, my Bays tote, and I just feel like such a boss-ass bitch. And these, like, I don't know, compared to these kids, even though I'm like only, I guess I'm 10 years older than them, but it was all the Bays work tote just making me feel so put together. So wanted to shout that out. And now I'm like, we already know I'm obsessed with Shay Mitchell, which is why I wanted the work tote in the first place. But now I'm like, I just want to try the carry on, or not carry on, carry on like roller
Yeah.
suitcase. I want to try like her packing cubes, some of her accessory bags. Like, I'm hooked already, and I only have the work tote. So definitely think it's worth the hype. I think outside of that, moving into clothing, I obviously have not tried a Goldie jeans, but the jeans I've been loving this year were the Zara mom jeans. And this was in both like actual full jean pants as well as their shorts. I don't know. I just found that they're a stiffer denim, which I really liked. And I liked
Hmm.
how it looked on me. Every time I wore my just like regular mom jeans, which I think I maybe bought 1 or 2 years ago. Every time I wore them this spring, people were like, "Where are your jeans from? These are fabulous. Like, these look so good on you." So I actually went out and bought more, which I feel like I've never done that before, where I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
people are, complimenting me. I'm going to go buy this in every color." But that's what I did. And then I had to do some summer clothes shopping. So I was like, let's try the shorts out. They were great. So definitely was loving those, and they're very inexpensive. Like, I think $60 for a pair of jeans compared to like $300 for the Goldie ones. But yeah, wanted to shout that out. And then the last piece of clothing I have on here, I meant to look at what the brand is. I think it's Babaton maybe, but it's
Mm.
from Aritzia, and it's like a short leather skirt. Again, I bought this probably 1 or 2 years ago, but I had worn it once. And this year I've been wearing it nonstop. I think it's so cute, like through the fall and winter, especially with like nylons and a sweater, ankle boots. That's how I've been wearing it. And I just can't get enough. So absolutely love it. And I'll actually also shout out a sweater dress from the same brand. I can't remember if it's Babaton or not. I'll have to look it up and like try to like post somewhere once I
Mm.
confirm the brand. But they're both from Aritzia. I also have a sweater dress that I've been wearing nonstop as well. And again, through just like the fall, winter, I feel like it's nice to have like a outfit where you feel like chic and still warm if you like have the nylons and everything. So yeah, wanted to shout that out. Moving into like the beauty skincare stuff, this has been a total game changer for me. I think I've been very honest about my struggles with skincare or just my skin in the past few years, how it's really taken a toll on my confidence. But this year, I really feel like this one product gave me all the confidence in the world covering up my skin, and that was the e.l.f. CC cream. It has SPF in it. It's kind of like a medium coverage, but for some reason it just makes me feel so much more confident, where I
Mm.
wouldn't wear foundation every day. It was more like anytime I left the house. But there was definitely a time in my life, like 2021, 2022, where I was like, I don't even want to leave the house because my skin's so bad. Where this, I'm like, yeah, my skin's bad, but if I put this stuff on, I at least feel like glowy and beautiful. And that's been a huge game changer for me. So absolutely love that. I've been loving so many of the e.l.f. products, and they're also very affordable. I feel like they've been my ticket out of Sephora and spending
Mhm.
hundreds and hundreds of dollars at Sephora every single month. So I've been really loving that. But that product takes the cake out of all my beauty and skincare products this year. The last thing on makeup before I get into skincare, I got this like, what is it's like a plasticky makeup brush pad or cleaner pad thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's very weird. I saw it on TikTok and I was like, okay, let's try this out. But essentially, it's just this like, there's a word I'm totally blanking on, like what it's made of, but that's okay. It's like kind of rubbery, I guess. And it has
Mhm.
like all of this like texture and design on it. And essentially, you just rub your makeup brush on it. I usually still use like a makeup brush cleaner as well. And then you kind of rub your brush all over the pad and it really deep cleans your makeup brushes. So since I've been so into the face makeup, I've been in the routine of washing my brushes at least once a week. And this thing really changed the game for me in terms of like actually getting all of the product out and like doing a deeper clean. So wanted to shout that out. And that's linked on my Amazon, like Sadie's favorites on our Amazon storefront. So if you need a visual of what I'm talking about, go check that out. And then in the skincare like vein of things, my favorite skincare product is the most expensive one. However, I think it's worth it. It's the Sunday Riley Good Genes Lactic Acid Serum. I find this is really great at still like exfoliating my skin without completely drying me out.
Mm.
So it's like a gentle exfoliator, I guess, like slightly gentler than salicylic acid. So I've been really loving that. And again, I think that's the one thing from Sephora that I'm like, I will continue to buy this. However, I think it's
Mm.
like $112 for just like a little bottle of it. So definitely pricey. But if you've been considering it, I'm like, maybe try it out because I've been really loving it. On a more cost effective side, I discovered La Roche Posay this year, which, if you are somebody who struggles with acne, you're like, girl, why wasn't this the first thing you tried? Because the hype is real and there's definitely like kind of a cult following, I feel, behind La Roche Posay because it is so effective, but also so inexpensive. So the products I was loving in specific are the Effaclar, I don't know how to say it, Effaclar line. I use the cleanser, but it's really the acne treatment and toner that I've worked into my everyday routine. The acne treatment's just like a spot treatment essentially, and I find it actually really works wonders as well. So been loving that as well as just the toner from that line. And then the last thing in this category is a hair night serum, and it's from Kerastase. It's their 8-hour night serum. But I found at the beginning of this year, I was really struggling with like hormone imbalances, and my hair was like, I was losing a lot of hair. My hair felt very dry, but I started using this stuff and I felt like the shine came back in my hair. So again, it is pricey, but I find it's worth it, at least for me.
Love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like in the summer you're gonna have to try the La Roche-Posay sunscreen that I use because
I
I've
know.
been
That's the next one.
obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the next product from them I need to try. The thing is, I know the SPF I use doesn't break me out. Like
Break
I've
you
been
out.
using it
Yeah.
all year. Yeah. So I'm like, it's good, but it's the Glow Recipe one. It's like
Yeah.
$50 from Sephora. So I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I
This
could
one's
probably make the
cheaper.
change.
And
Yeah.
I use the tinted one so that I don't have to wear like face makeup in the summer because
Right.
that like breaks me out. And yeah, I'm
Yeah.
obsessed.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are. So that's the next thing I will try. I just stocked up on Glow Recipe at the Sephora sale like in
Yeah.
November, but once I run out, I will definitely try it out.
Great. Should we talk about some health and wellness faves?
Yes. Yes. Maybe do you mind actually, Tag, if I keep going? Because I
Yeah,
think the
go for
first two
it.
things are exactly what are related to like my skincare journey
Mhm.
and the whole hormone imbalance I was just talking to. So this was the first year where I was so dedicated to taking probiotics and I really think they helped. I was taking Seed. I just stopped my subscription like 2 months ago because I was like, this is like very expensive and I think there's other ones that I can try. However, when I was using Seed probiotics, I really really like them. I feel like it kept just like digestion really good and I do think it was helping with like those little tiny like bumps and acne along my jawline. So definitely think a probiotic was helping. And TBD if I'm going to continue with Seed in the new year or just try like cheaper ones from the grocery store. But wanted to put that on the list. And then the other thing I really wanted to make sure I called out was I at the beginning of the year, I set a goal to do a juice cleanse, and I did, I think, two of the same juice cleanses, but at different times of the year this year. And they were both with greenhouse juices. Why I wanted to do it was to kind of address the whole hormonal imbalance thing I was going through, where I was like, I just need to like reset the system. So I did just a 24-hour juice cleanse, and it was actually way easier than I thought. But I think it's because the kit that I got through Greenhouse Juice, which is a local Toronto juicery. Is that the word? Juicery?
Yeah,
Juicer?
I think.
Whatever. Yeah. You guys know what I'm trying to say. But they had like shakes, like protein shakes, different like wellness booster shots, plus juices that you drank throughout the day. So I feel like that's why it was easier than I thought, because I was still getting like protein and I don't
Mhm.
know. It was just a good mix of stuff. So I really love that. I don't know if it helped with my skin necessarily or my hormones, but I definitely did feel like better. Actually, after the first one I did, I was like, wow, I didn't realize how bloated I was
Mhm.
until I did a juice cleanse where it was just like literally cleansing the whole system. So definitely wanted to shout that out. And then in the whole like realm of juice, drinks, food, that sort of thing, I've been loving Half Baked Harvest recipes. I got the super simple cookbook of hers for Christmas last year. So I made quite a few of those recipes, but also just like browsing her website, I saved so many different lunch ideas to my Pinterest board. And that's been a real game changer. Like, I feel like through 2020 all the way to 2022, I was just eating like quick, easy things for lunch since I've been working from home. But this
Yeah.
year, I feel like I was actually doing more for lunches, and it obviously made me feel better and was just a little bit healthier. So, wanted to shout that out. And if you don't have one of her cookbooks, haven't tried it before, start with her website, because there's lots of obviously free recipes on there. And then last thing that's not related really to the health and wellness that I've been talking about, but just like cognitive health and like learning and that sort of piece of health and wellness. I think I've talked about my masterclass subscription, but I really did enjoy that this year. Again, it was quite pricey, and I feel like I could have done more classes and courses since I had access to it all year. But the classes that I did take, I really enjoyed. I think it was such like high budget productions and
Mm.
really great people that they have on there. So if you're considering a masterclass subscription, I do not regret mine at all. Like, I really liked it. So yeah, wanted to throw that on the list as well.
Love it. Yeah, I really want to try a juice cleanse next
Hmm.
year
Yeah.
because I'm the same where I struggle with bloating and that kind of stuff. And that's when I'll do like bouts of not eating carbs. But yeah, I feel like I would enjoy it. I feel like it would make me feel better. Like when you were talking about it, I was like, that sounds so yummy.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
should make
it
that a
was.
goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and start with a 1 day, like, I think they do
Yeah.
1, 3, and 5 day or something, but I
Yeah.
was like, obviously, I'll start with the 1 day, see how it goes, and since it was easier than I thought, I was like, "Maybe I could do 3 days the second time," but I was like, "No, it's been, like, 6 months since I did it, so
Yeah.
I'll do the 1 day again," but I wanna get to a point where I do it, like, quarterly, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe if I do it that often, I can get to, like, doing more than 1 day, because I feel like you might see even more results if you do it like
Yeah.
a longer
Longer.
cleanse, but we will see.
Very cool. Yeah, my favorites in this category, I had HelloFresh. We've talked about it a lot. I just find it's a lot easier, obviously, to eat healthy, especially if you're really busy, if you're
Mhm.
not having to come up with recipes and do the grocery shop. Not sponsored. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by HelloFresh, but we're not. I just genuinely like it. I also wanted to mention two books. One was Atomic Habits, which I think you gave me for Christmas, right,
Yeah.
Sadie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that. There was a particular section about how like your habits form your identity that
Mhm.
really resonated with me. He was talking about like just sort of showing up
Yeah.
makes you that person, where I've always
Yeah.
been very hard on myself, where if I don't finish the yoga video, I'm like, that didn't even count. Where when I was reading this book, he was like, if you roll out your yoga mat, that counts for the day. if you just
Mhm.
sit on the mat, you're still a yogi. And so
Mhm.
that was just like a big perspective shift for me. And obviously, there's a bunch of other things I learned in that as well. And the book Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle is another book I feel like we've mentioned nonstop on the podcast that I found very interesting. And then as far as workouts, we both love Yoga with Adriene. I'm so excited to do her January challenge. I'm now like getting to the point where I like get pumped up all through December, which is so lame. But in contrast to when I first started and I was like, "Oh my god, this is going to be
Yeah, this
so
is
hard."
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now I'm like, "Let's go. It's almost January." So I'm very excited about that. I also watched a lot of videos from the channel Move with Nicole, which is more Pilates, but
Mhm.
some yoga as well. I felt that that was really good if I ever wanted to like step up a workout, if I felt
Yeah.
that, the yoga wasn't hitting that day, or if it was like a chiller day of yoga and I didn't really feel that that's what I needed, I would
Mhm.
pair it with a Move with Nicole. And yeah, I just love that, as well as ClassPass. I used a lot. I haven't had my subscription going for a couple months, but I would love to get back into it.
Yeah, I love it. I did James Clear's Atomic Habits masterclass, and
Oh,
it
that's
was
interesting.
very, yeah, it was pretty much the same as the book. Like, I don't think you need to read the book and watch the masterclass,
Yeah.
but for me, I had read the book a while ago, so watching the masterclass, I was like, "Oh yeah," like I forgot how
Yeah.
much I love what he has to say, and just also hearing him talk about it is different than just like reading it,
Yeah.
But yeah, he's really great. I definitely recommend that. Especially I feel it's such a good way to like start a new year. Like if you're
Mhm.
haven't read it yet, or if you have masterclass and you haven't seen his class yet, like check it out because it definitely is very inspirational and like a bestseller for a reason.
Yeah, totally. It's also a really easy read. I find
Yeah.
some self-help books can be pretty dense, especially if they're like very science-based. His I read in like I think 3 or 4 days because
Yeah.
it's a pretty short book. The writing's pretty big. There's lots of diagrams. I was like, "Yep, this is what I
Yeah,
need."
we love that. Yeah. And he sums up the end of every chapter.
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah, it just makes it so easy to like read the information,
digest.
yeah,
Yeah.
contain it. Yeah, exactly. Awesome.
Great. Now I feel like we're into the section. That was like the Sadie section. Now we're
Yeah.
getting into the Tegan section, and I'm excited because we're going to talk about TV and movies.
Perfect.
So,
Kick
yeah,
us
I
off,
guess,
Tech.
yeah. As far as TV goes, I feel like the best show of the year was Succession. There was obviously like so much hype around it, and that was why I didn't start watching it until this year, but it reached February and I think it like swept the Emmys, and I knew it was going to be the last season, so I was like to my husband Tyrell, we've got to watch this so that we can watch it live. And I'm so glad we did that because there was like if you watched it, there was an episode that I'm like, thank God we're watching this live because it would not have hit the same if we hadn't. And that show, it was just so funny. It made me laugh so hard, but then I also cried. So I
That's the
obviously had to
best.
shout that out, and it's going to sweep the awards, I'm guessing. There was also The Last of Us, which was like a little phenomenon that happened at the beginning of this year. And that was awesome to go from like a game that I remember Tyrell playing with our roommates to then like seeing it be a show and then seeing it be a phenomenon was just like so interesting. But I really enjoyed it. Movies wise, I still have a lot of movies that I need to see. So a lot of the December releases aren't on my list yet, but my two favorites were Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon. Both were so good. Both I've only seen once, but I'm like, I need to watch them again because they just like pumped me up. I feel like I talk a lot about seeing movies that are so bad that I'm like, oh, cinema's dead. These are the
Right.
opposite, where I'm like, cinema's back, baby. We did it. So I loved both of those. I feel like they'll both be big Oscar movies. If you're someone who watches the Oscars, I feel like those two should be at the top of your list so that what's going on with that. Same with Barbie, probably. And then the other thing I wanted to shout out is our friend Daniel actually won an Oscar this year, which was just like the coolest thing
That's crazy.
to watch the Oscars live and like first just see someone we know. We saw him on the red carpet and we were like, oh my God, I know that guy. And then obviously to see him win and get to give a speech and like
How do
that
you
was
know
just
him?
crazy. So it's kind of complicated. My husband has a podcast about a band and he had actually directed a documentary about that same band.
Okay.
And so they had become friends that way. And so this was for a different project. He directed a documentary about Navalny, who is a Russian politician and he's still in jail in Russia. And it was about his assassination attempt. And so he had won for best documentary.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool. But
That
he's a
is so
Toronto
cool.
guy. And
Yeah.
like we were at an Oscars party and just like the room erupted.
Wow.
And then
I
like
got chills you
I
talking
know.
about that.
It was just like crazy. And then like texting him the next day and he's like, yeah, I don't even know what's happening. Like he
That's
wasn't
crazy.
even, you know.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was just so cool. So obviously had to give that a shout out because I love the Oscars and there was my little buddy up
Yeah.
there. So yeah.
I love that. I will say I haven't seen any of those things you just mentioned. However, I know all of these things were such big phenomenons, like you were saying
Yeah.
this year. So I'm so glad you can represent us in this category because the things I'm going to mention, people are going to be like, what the actual hell? But I am such a lover of like coming of age, teenage dramas, romance. Like this is where I thrive, right? Not the like Oppenheimers of the world, obviously.
Yeah.
So I was loving Daisy Jones and the Six. That came out in the spring. Tegan and I both read the book, and I think we were excited for the show to come out. I do think the book was obviously better. I feel like people who read the book first and then watch the movie, TV show, whatever, typically say that. But in this case, I was like, I'm not really feeling the like connection between the characters like I was when I was reading the books. However, I did still love it. And it was actually Tegan and I's first like influencer event, if you will, going to see the finale of it. So I also have that memory tied to that TV show, which makes it even more special. I think outside of that, going back to the whole coming of age, like rom com, teen drama stuff, the shows I ate up were Exo Kitty, which is from the same To All the Boys I've Loved Before like franchise, which is literally my favorite. So this was about like the younger sister in that. And then The Summer I Turned Pretty, that is also just like such a classic. This was the second season. And the second season definitely was like a little more sad and like not a feel good show like I feel the first season was, but it was still good. I still watched it every week and like look forward to the new episodes. So wanted to mention that. And then outside of that, I don't even know if I saw any movies in theater.
You saw Barbie
this year. Yeah, I saw Barbie, which I thought Barbie was good, but I wasn't like, oh my God, this changes my mind. I was like, welcome everybody to how my mind works all the time. Like, you know, like I don't know. I thought it was a good movie, but I didn't think it was like amazing. Oh my God, my favorite movie ever. However, I did love the cultural phenomenon it had in the world, but I think we'll talk about that more later. But outside of that, I went to a lot of like musicals this year, which I really loved. I got to see Hamilton. I saw the Alanis Morissette Jagged Little Pill show, and then I just saw Six a few weeks ago. And I just love going to the theater. Like I'm like, musicals, this gets me like hyped. And every time I see one, I'm like, why don't I do this like every single week? So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Yeah, I also love musicals. I've got tickets already for some shows next year. Got to see Hamilton, which is like one of my favorite musicals ever.
Yeah,
So,
and you won your tickets after I made fun of you for entering your draw every day.
I know. This is what happens. Everyone mocks you until it works out. And then it's
exactly.
like, oh,
Joke's
it's like the same with posting to TikTok. It's like, wow,
yeah,
those girls post to TikTok. Wow. And then it's like, except look at us now. That was
Yeah.
me, front row Hamilton. Look at me
Yeah.
now. The
Yeah.
best was for Tyrell and my mom, who I brought, didn't enter once. It was just me being a psycho, and they got to come as a reward for being related to me. So,
That's hilarious. Yeah, we love
yeah,
that for you.
yeah. Great. I think next we can talk about music, which
Mhm.
this category, I listen to a lot of music, but I listen to a lot of older music. And so
Yeah.
I went through like my top of this year, and there were only two albums that came out this year that cracked my top played songs on Spotify. And one of them was the soundtrack from Daisy Jones and the Six.
Wow.
So
I
even though
love
I didn't
that.
mention it, I did really love the soundtrack. It was written by a lot of my favorite artists. And so I just thought it was done so well. And then the other album was Rides On by the Nude Party. And so this was a band that we went to see like randomly on, I feel like, a Thursday night in this little bar downtown Toronto, and just had like the best night. And so I've been obsessed with them ever since that moment. And they
I
were on
love
tour
that.
with their new album. And so I listened to that a lot. They were, I think, my third or fourth artist of the year. So
Nice. I love it. I don't know how many of mine came out this year or are like new to me this year. And I
yeah.
probably mentioned all of these in past episodes, but I think the most exciting thing for me in the music scene this year was I finally got to see Khalid live. He's been like
Yeah.
my top, or at least in my top artist for the past, since 2019, actually. It was, I had just started a new job, just discovered Khalid, and then like a few months later the pandemic hit, and then I became even more obsessed with him, and he put out like a bunch of new music in that time as well. But I finally saw him live. He opened for Ed Sheeran, who I saw live for like the 500th time as well, but it was all for Khalid. Was Khalid worth the hype and worth the like 4 year wait? I don't know. I don't think he
Mm,
was great live. However, it was like something I could check off my bucket list, which was great. On the opposite hand, the person I saw live who was absolutely amazing, I've never been more starstruck in my entire life, was Beyonce. Tegan and I got to see her, and
yeah.
I think she was not in my top artist for the year, but I've been really into, obviously, like the whole Renaissance album. And I feel just even the past few weeks, I'm like, it's coming back around where I'm just like listening to it nonstop.
Yeah.
But seeing her live was just like out of this world. I was like, holy crap. Yeah, I get it. I get the like hype around Beyonce where it's like, yeah,
She's
how
a
is she this
superstar.
perfect?
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah, so good. Then outside of live music, I think I've mentioned some of these in the past episodes, but Wild Rivers, Noah Kahn, and Olivia Rodrigo, they were all in my top listened to in my Spotify Wrapped in terms of songs and or the actual artist. Olivia Rodrigo, Guts, that was one of my favorite albums of the whole year. I just, again, it's that teenage like angst
Yeah.
coming of age that has been a theme in this episode so far for me. And then Noah Kahn, Tegan and I tried so hard to go to his concert in
Oh
August,
God.
and it was such a nightmare. We didn't end up going. However, we have secured tickets to see him in April, which we are so excited about. And
Yeah.
then I'm considering seeing him a second time at Osheaga next August. But I've been loving him. I think he's like such a good vibe. So he definitely cracked my Spotify rep this year. I think as an artist and in the songs as well.
Yeah. I love me some Noah as well. I'm so excited to see him live next year, and I feel like he's
Yeah.
doing a bunch of festivals. So I
Yeah,
feel like
he's having his moment. It's
yeah.
crazy though, because when Tegan and I were trying to get tickets, it was to see him at like probably our smallest big venue in Toronto. Like
Yeah.
it's I don't know how many people fit there. And now he's coming in April. He has, I think, like 3 or 4 nights sold out at like a
Yeah.
much bigger venue. And I'm like, this guy literally blew up. Like he just was on SNL. And it's just like,
Mhm.
wow, he's gone. I don't know. It feels like 0 to 100 real quick, but
Yeah.
it's just crazy. Yeah.
I
We love
can't
that for
imagine
him.
being him. Yeah.
I know. I think
Like
he's still processing it. I see his Instagram stories and he's just like
yeah.
freaking out all the time.
Yeah. No, I'm
I
so
love it.
excited to see him. I feel like a
Me
lot of his
too.
songs resonate with Canadians because they're about like
Yeah.
being bitter about the cold and such, which
Yeah.
is relatable.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. I think the next category is books. And I only had two. These were two that I rated like 5 stars this year. So the first one was My Body, by Emily Ratajkowski, she's another podcast host. She's a model. She got famous because she was in the Blurred Lines music video. And
Oh,
someone,
right.
yeah, so
I
random,
forgot that
right?
about her. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was infamous, like she was nude in it, right? And then YouTube took it down and all this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had always seen it like on Pinterest and stuff because it's a very aesthetic book. So I was like, I'm just going to buy it for that. And then when I went on vacation, I was like, this feels like a vacation book. And then I read it in like one day. I was completely consumed. This just reflects so badly on me, but she was so much more intelligent than I thought. And it was just very interesting to hear her perspectives on like sexuality and her
Mhm.
beauty, because she's like, I just love being nude. And
Mhm.
to me, that's not a problem. But to everyone else that says, that makes you a bad feminist, or that means you want attention, or that means you deserve to get assaulted. And it was just, I don't know, it was a very interesting perspective to read, and it made me really respect her. And I just really connected with all of the essays in it. So I have been recommending it to everyone. And it seems so silly to be like, you should read the book of the girl who was in the Blurred Lines music video, but it was my favorite book I read this year. And I also read A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini, I think is how you say it. We read it for book club, and it was a great book. Another one that I read super quickly, a very interesting perspective, something I had never really thought about, which I think, that's the best part about books or movies,
Mhm.
is to sort of like get into the mind of those different perspectives. So I really enjoyed both of those and highly recommend them if anyone's listening and hasn't read either of those. They're both excellent.
Yeah, I have your copy of My Body on my bookshelf. I haven't
Yeah.
read it. I've had it for months and months, and it's so like short. I know I'll breeze through it, but I need to sit down and read it.
Yeah. It's a good vacation book because
Yeah.
she's a California girl. A lot of it's just like talking about, I was at this party and I was doing this, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
beachside reading.
Yeah. Well, I will get to it. Hopefully, maybe by the end of this year, we will see. But
Yeah.
I think my favorite book that I read this year was actually another one Tegan lent me. Didn't come out this year, and I think Teg, maybe you included it in your favorites from 2022.
Yes, I did.
But I got around to reading it this summer, and it is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I loved it. Like, literally, hands down, probably the first favorite I wrote on this whole list of all of the things, because I
Yeah.
just really, really loved it. And it's still something I like think about to this day, So if you haven't read it yet, also add that to your list, because it was such a, again, interesting perspective, very like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just so interesting, but it's and like heavy topics, but just the way she addressed it was so
Yeah.
great and funny, and
So
I can't even
funny.
explain it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely read that book or check it out if you haven't already. The other books on my list, Happy Place by Emily Henry. I think that is kind of a classic. I
Mhm.
love Emily Henry books. I really, really liked Happy Place. I gave it 5 stars. I like the whole friend plot plus the romance plot in it. I thought it was a great like spring summer read. And then I think I mentioned this in a past episode recently, but another book our book club read was A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, and I gave that 5 stars. I really liked it. And then two other kind of thrillery books were by Gillian McAllister. I really like her books. I feel like I can't always predict them and the twists. I'm like, wait, what? And then it's like another one, and then it's like, wait, what? And then my sisters have read them or are reading them. One of the books was Just Another Missing Person. It was the first time me and both my sisters were reading the same book at the same time. So I'd be
Mm.
like, okay, this is what I gathered. Is that right? Like, I just can't keep up with these twists. So definitely check that out if you're into the whole thrillery vibe. And she also wrote Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which our book club also read at the beginning of the year. I gave it 4 stars, not 5. I think actually I gave both of these 4, not 5
Mm.
stars, but they were really good reads. And again, it was just like the whoa, didn't really see that coming aspect that I feel like I don't get that often in books.
Mhm. Love it. Yeah, I definitely want to second. I'm glad my mom died. I felt the exact same way where I was like, this book is so good. Everyone needs to read it. I've also heard that the audiobook is super good because she narrates it herself. And there are moments where it's like she gets emotional and cries, but you get sort of like the humor of what she's saying. So I
Right.
wanted to shed that out if anyone's listening and is not like a big reader. I've heard that audiobook is amazing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think we'll maybe kind of rapid fire through some of like our just like pop culture moments, I guess. Some
Mhm.
of our like miscellaneous things as well, but just kind of one of those, oh yeah, I forgot that happened this year. So starting like beginning of the year, the whole Rihanna Super Bowl moment, I
Yeah.
remember watching this in my bathtub being like, wait, did she just announce she's pregnant, or
Yeah.
like what is going on? And then just like reading Twitter afterwards and people being
Yeah.
like, no, stop body shaming women, and like
That was
just
literally
the
me with my brother because he was like, "Oh, she's
yeah.
pregnant." And I was like, "She just had a baby, you piece of shit.
Yeah,
How dare you?"
exactly.
And then her
Yeah.
team had to like put out a statement being like, "No, she's
Nope.
pregnant."
Yeah. So funny, but I was like, leave it to Rihanna to just like kill
Break
it
the internet.
at yeah, and
Yeah.
like kill it at the Super Bowl while she's pregnant. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, such a boss move. So and again, I was like, I forgot that happened this year because now she just has
Mhm.
2 kids and it's like, yes, Rihanna is back on the map. Not that she ever was off the map, but she's like back full force. So
Yeah.
that was definitely a good way to start the year.
Yep. As mentioned, there was also the Barbie movie, Barbenheimer, that
Yeah.
whole phenomenon, the movie's finally being back post COVID. So that was pretty crazy. Same with the Taylor Swift Eras tour.
Yeah.
That was crazy with the movie and the everything. We've got the
Yeah.
Beyonce Renaissance tour, her movie's out in theaters. It was like a lot of girls
Girl
being like,
power.
yeah, and girls celebrating girls and being excited about girlhood and wearing pink and that kind of thing, which was exciting.
Yeah. One of my favorite things from this year, going off the whole girl power thing, was Tegan and I went to the first WNBA game in Canada. It wasn't
Hmm.
Canadian teams. And then I feel they did us dirty later in the year by not announcing a Toronto team. They were like, actually, no, we're
Yeah.
expanding the league, but not to Toronto. However, I think Toronto is ready for it and everyone's waiting. But in the meantime, we did get to see a WNBA game, which was a lot of fun. And just like, I got like emotional at it because there was just like people holding signs, just being like, or there were girls there with their basketball teams, like in their
Yeah.
jerseys. And I was just like, oh my God, like I got so emotional about it, just being like, yes, how much like representation matters in sports. So that was something else that was very special and definitely wanted to put on the list.
I think, obviously, speaking of live music, we saw Ed Sheeran. He brought out Shawn Mendes, which was super
Yeah,
exciting. He
that
went
was
viral.
wild.
Yeah, that I don't think I've ever been like the Reputation show I went to wasn't the one where she brought out Brian Adams. It was the
Yeah,
other night. So like I've never really had that happen at a show
me
before.
either.
And it was exciting. Although
It
I
was.
would have been more exciting for Eminem like he did in Detroit.
Oh my
I would have
God,
died.
stop it. Okay, something about me is I have 2 videos from the Detroit Ed Sheeran show that I
Yeah.
saved on TikTok, and I watch them probably like once a week because they just bring me that much joy. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like embarrassed to be so excited about Shawn Mendes when Eminem came out like 2 nights later.
Yeah.
But I was like, honestly, Shawn Mendes, hometown hero,
Yeah.
like it was just very exciting. And yeah, it was the first time I was at a concert where I was like, oh shit, this is kind of
Yeah.
cool,
It's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I was saying to Tegan though, or I was there with Tegan, but I was like, seriously, this is the time I chose to sit. Like, we were watching the whole show, and I was like, I'm just going to take a break. And there's like, bring out Shawn Mendes, and everyone's like screaming. I was like, wait, who is it? What's going on? I was sitting. I missed it all. But anyways, that was very exciting. And then there was just so many other like little pop culture-y things. Like we had Elena from Girl We Gotta Talk podcast on our podcast in the summer. She was going all on about the Vanderpump Rules scandal. So if you're into like Bravo shows, reality TV, that was definitely a hot topic. Earlier this year, we finally got a Kim Cattrall appearance on And Just Like That. That was definitely not one of our favorites this year. Didn't top the charts, but we did watch it, and I saw Kim Cattrall. I don't know, Tag, if you actually finished it or not. Her little 3 seconds.
I saw the clip on
show.
TikTok, but
yeah,
I'm still on episode. I watched the one where there was the snowstorm and Charlotte had to go get condoms for her kid.
Yeah.
And you were like, I was like, okay. Then haven't picked it up since then.
Oh, man. And then, of course, the unfortunate passing of Matthew Perry, which we actually talked all about on Elena's podcast, Girl We Gotta Talk. Yeah. And then also just Instagram threads. I put that on the list because that was so unhinged.
What the heck? Yeah.
Yeah. And just, I remember being so obsessed with it for like the 24 hours that it first launched. And just the people who were on there were just hilarious. Like, it was so good. But then it just kind of fizzled out quickly since it really couldn't compete with Twitter just yet. Maybe there's still like faith in the future, but that also happened this year.
Yeah, what a crazy year.
Yeah, definitely. And then just to round this out, like miscellaneous, if you're coming to Toronto or if you're based in Toronto, I had just like 3 restaurants I wanted to shout out. Piano. I think this is a Toronto staple everyone knows about in Toronto. But I went this year finally for their Winterlicious menu, and it was absolutely amazing. They also have Piccolo Piano, which I went to later in the year. And again, it was just so good. So definitely wanted to shout that out. Tegan and I went to Silent H, which was a new restaurant in the city this year. But their drinks were amazing. I feel like the food was also really good. I did also run into Clean on the street on my way to that restaurant. So that also maybe is why I think so fondly of that night. But that restaurant was really great. And again, new to Toronto. And then we also have a One Hotel in Toronto now. And they have One Kitchen, like their restaurant at the hotel. And I went there for a brunch, I think once or twice, and it was actually really, really good. So also wanted to shout that out. And then this is so random outside of Toronto, but on one of my trips, I went to Mexico this year, and it was a wedding that we went for, me and my best friend. And at the table, they had Smirnoff spicy tamarind vodka. And oh my God, you guys, this stuff is so good. I looked it up. You can buy it here in Canada. So I was like, this is the most random thing to throw on the favorites list. I don't know where else to put it. So I created this miscellaneous category just so I could shout it out. So if you are into that or looking for something to like, I don't know, spice up your bar cabinet, check that out because it's just that good.
Love it. Well, I think that's where we'll leave it this week. I think we're going to go more into like, I don't know, favorite like memories, moments, reflection, that kind of thing next week. So definitely make sure you're following and subscribe to us so you see when that episode drops. And as we head into January, we've got a bunch of stuff to kind of get everyone started on the right foot for the new year. And so those episodes will be dropping on Tuesdays. In between that, you can follow us on social media. We're at Our Golden 20s on pretty much every single platform. So give us a follow there. And we also have a Patreon, which is the best way to show your support for the podcast. Episodes show up early there, and we have additional content as well. So I think that's everything for this week. Thanks for listening.
See you next Tuesday.